Don't you die on me, damn it!
He's dropping!
Intubate, now! Cardiac arrest, he's in VFib!
Clear!
No response, hit him again!
Not your kind of people.
Clear!
You seem kind of phony. Everything's a lie.
How's he doing?
We are
Well, he's stabilized, but it took too long. He's in a coma.
something in your makeup.
What about him?
Don't see eye to eye. We are not your kind of people. Don't want to be like you ever in our lives. We are not your kind of people. Mind when you start talking, there's nothing but white noise. Running around trying to fit in, wanting to be loved. It doesn't take much for someone to shut you down. When you build a shell, build an army in your mind. You can't sit still and you don't like hanging around the crowd. They don't understand.
You've been in a coma for quite some time. Yes, yes, I know. You would like to know how long. I'm afraid it's been 9 years.
see this? Diamond Dogs. Our new home.
V has come through.
We're not tools of the government or anyone else. Fighting was the only thing I was good at, but at least I always fought for what I believed in. Greetings, my fellow foxes. This is Aaron from the Fox Groups presenting to you today Metal Gear Solid 5 analysis on the trailer that you just saw. So basically, I have some notes here. Well, basically, I've seen the trailer numerous times, but I had to make notes because I wanted to make sure every kind of information that was presented in this video is pinpoint accurate. So first of all, we have Miller, Benedict McDonald or whatever, or you all know him as Master Miller from Metal Gear Solid 1, and basically he's asking about Snake's condition, and Snake is in the hospital, and they're saying that he's suffering from cardiac arrest. And obviously this ends up leading to a coma that he ends up being in. His second coma, because he was in a coma during 1972 where the Les Enfants Terribles project was constructed on him to produce Solid Snake, and Liquid Snake. Solid Snake being the inferior gene, but the inferior clone. And obviously he didn't know that, so that's obviously what led to the bad blood between him and Major Zero. So we have Miller asking about the other guy. Now the other guy could be Ishmael, who is Grey Fox, most likely because of the damaged face, Or it could be Hideo Kojima watching on, what's going on. That's apparently what Hideo Kojima said. So that, he could be playing games with us or not. And then, we show the events of Ground Zero and Phantom Pain. The events are very combined because they both make up Metal Gear Solid 5. Ground Zeroes is basically a prologue to the Phantom Pain. Altogether, they make Metal Gear Solid 5. So, basically, Ground Zeroes, it's set in 1975 or 6. 9 years later, then it will lead to 1984 or 5, depending on whether that was 1974 or 5. Or not 5 or 6, but actually I'm confused now. But basically, I'm not sure whether whether the game in general is actually going to come with a like a one kind of package with 2 discs in there, and they say you have to play Ground Zeroes to get to for the Phantom Pain. It could be like Metal Gear Solid 2, where you had the tanker episode and then the Big Shell episode, or like Metal Gear Solid 3 when you had the Virtuous mission and then you had Operation Snake Eater. So it could be that. And Snake obviously is looking at Mother Base being destroyed, so you worked your ass off to get Mother Base in Peace Walker, and it gets destroyed. So you think to yourself, obviously all that hard work, but yeah. And obviously it has a structure of the Big Shell, so it kind of looks like the hexagon kind of shape. So and we can tell from this Metal Gear that this will be the Metal Gear Solid where it's not a transformation of Snake from good to bad. It's where it gets to a point where his character obviously develops into Big Boss. He becomes Big Boss. He's not Naked Snake anymore. And that's the whole concept of him not being voiced by David Hayter, because I have a feeling that Hideo Kojima said that Solid Snake, that wasn't the last we saw of Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 4. I'm not exactly sure how they can go beyond Metal Gear Solid 4, considering he's very, very old and he just wants to chill out and go to Alaska and chill out with the dogs. But going back, it's a possibility he's in this game, because this game's like a crossover, like the middleman between everything happening before and then the actual first Metal Gear, where we played as Solid Snake, and Big Boss was his supervisor, and then ultimately he ended up defeating Big Boss because Big Boss was the guy who he had to face because he was the head of Outer Heaven. So basically, it looks like that that we could be seeing a younger Snake in it, regardless if it isn't voiced by David Hayter or not. If it's a young Snake, very little Snake, then it's not going to be voiced by David, but it will be understandable why he's not in the game, because I have a feeling Solid Snake is going to be in the game regardless, even if he's as a little kid, or because there's going to be a lot of time shifts in this game. Maybe just before Big Boss trains him for his first mission, they could show that possibly. Maybe then he could be voiced by David Hayter, but apart from that, it really wouldn't make sense. And they're going to, you know, like I said, they're really developing Big Boss's character. Metal Gear Solid 4, you had Big Boss who wasn't voiced by him, so you know, it would have been stupid, because if David Hayter tried to, you know, voice Big Boss as well as Old Snake he was voicing, he would have to drink a lot of Jack Daniel and put a deep voice, or get something down that mouth or something to, you know, make it deep. So basically we have the new kind of there's this guy, he looks like he has a burnt face. People are speculating it's Volgin because he did get electrocuted and he was on fire. They show him in the beginning of the Phantom Pain part, and like a fire kind of thing. But I don't know if that's actually him or whether the enemy's someone else, and that's just a different part of it, because that was definitely Volgin with the whole costume. And I think Psycho Mantis has a big part to play in this game, because he'll be 14 in this game. I think it takes part in 1984, so he'll be 14. And the whole title, Phantom Pain, it makes you think as if this is one kind of dream or something. But the Psycho Mantis is going to be a big part in this game. He's not going to die in this game. He's not going to be an enemy, really, because he dies in Metal Gear Solid 1. Metal Gear Solid, the first one. So he's going to be playing mind games with Big Boss in this game. You can tell something's going to happen. It's going to be a serious story. It's going to explore loads of themes, this Metal Gear. And it can only surpass from the 10 out of 10 game that Metal Gear Solid 4, you know, got. It can only surpass that. It's an open world stealth game, and it's just, there's a lot to explore in this game. So, you know, the leader, the enemy, supposedly, the antagonist, is going to be, you know, he's an XOF leader, which basically XOF is just a reverse of Fox. And, you know, my channel's Fox Scoops, but yeah, so basically they're probably an anti-Fox group. And I'm assuming that's formed by the Patriots, you know, who were Paramedic was in there, Sigint was in there, and Major Zero. Ocelot and Eve were basically double agents. You know, they were sided with, they were on Snake's side, so, or Big Boss's side. So they ended up eliminating them anyway. I don't really want to go into the whole Patriot story. I don't want to cover this specifically. We know that Snake has a prosthetic arm. On his left, it's probably the guy from Peace Walker. Forgot his name again, but he was with Paz, and he was like the mentor of Paz. So it could be his red arm, because you could light a cigarette with that cigar. Snake loves cigars. And then we see Ishmael, who is possibly going to be Grey Fox. We've seen many iterations of Grey Fox. We've seen Frank Yeager in the Metal Gear part of Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Then we've seen the Cyborg Ninja, Deep Throat, or, you know, Grey Fox, if you want to call him that. We saw Noel in Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, which was a younger version of him. And obviously Big Boss loves to spare him lots of times, and now I think this is the part when he kind of joins his army, Big Boss's army, and it makes sense now, because all the characters, like I said, this is a crossover kind of middleman kind of game. So the characters that we would see in Metal Gear, the very first one, like Grey Fox and Solid Snake, I think they're going to be in this one. So yeah, I spoke about Volgin and how imagine if this whole part of the Phantom Pain part was actually a dream. Hopefully not, but it's definitely going to have a lot of toll on Snake, and he's going to, you know, be a bit more different in this game. And we see Ocelot on the horse. It's definitely him with the cowboy boots, the jacket, and he looks a bit older, but that's because he's about 40 years old in it, so it makes sense. But he doesn't look as old as he does later on, so it's fair enough that he looks kind of old. And we see Snake shooting at Volgin, possibly riding on the horse, chasing after him. And that horse that Ocelot's on is actually maybe the boss's horse. I mean, horses usually have a lifespan from 20 to 30, and then that's kind of like 20 or 30 years, and then that's their maximum age. So yeah. Also in the trailer, we see a nurse, and you know, I think that nurse has been keeping an eye on Snake for those 9 years, and I think that nurse is somewhat looks like Eva. Oof, yeah. But it kind of looks like a cross between the younger self, but then more of an older self, but like a younger self of an older self, if that makes sense. Because the characters that were in Metal Gear Solid 3 that look young look completely different from their older selves. Like Ocelot looks completely different in Metal Gear Solid 3 than compared to what he looks like in rest of the games. He looks much more similar to his older self in supposedly this game. That is, you know, whether that his is him on the horse. And Eva, somewhat, she looks like a younger version of herself from an older version, but not her Metal Gear Solid 3 version. Because damn, I could watch those scenes between her and Snake again. But yeah. So I think it could possibly be her. I mean, considering the fact that Ishmael said that the world wanted Snake dead, makes you think that, you know, obviously Snake must have had, you know, his closest people in his life keep an eye on him. So, you know, to prevent anyone from, you know, pulling the pump or killing him in the process. So, yeah, and then towards the end we get to find out that Diamond Dogs is supposedly the new place. It's going to be kind of like Mother Base, where you get to, you know, build up everything and do R&D or something, build up your weapons, and just basically that is your home base. So I think that is located in South Africa, which is basically where Outer Heaven is. So I think that would eventually end up being Outer Heaven. I initially thought that Mother Base was going to be Outer Heaven, but obviously there were still a few more gaps to cover in. Like, there's going to be a lot in this this part of the story, especially if it's going to take pretty much the 80s, and then by the 90s is obviously when Solid Snake enters the picture. So we will be seeing Diamond Dogs being our new home. So that'll be very, very invigorating to you know, build on. So what else is that said? Where at the end Snake is on a bike and he has some really weird horn on his head. I think Volgin had that on his head when he was in the fire. So you think to yourself, is there something to do with all of this kind of phantom kind of visions and stuff, because he's got something going right through his head or inside his head, or whether that's just an injury. I hope the whole rest of the game he doesn't have that on his head, because he looks like a bit of a rhino. So hopefully he can remove that out of his head. Maybe he's going home, that's why, to Diamond Dogs. But that's something to be seen and unraveled. So it's gonna be a great game. People that you know, have been skeptical about it really shouldn't be skeptical. Every time Metal Gear Solid has delivered, you know, they're taking, you know, they're kind of finishing up the story, as in they're covering that part where, you know, Solid, Liquid, and Solid is into the picture. And heck, Metal Gear Solid 6, they could go to the boss, they could enter a new protagonist, they could go for a Liquid Snake storyline, they could do anything with that. But right now, we're going to pretty much kind of finish Big Boss's kind of story, in my opinion, unless they decide to continue it later on. But later on is obviously involves Solid Snake, so we'll kind of get to that point, that middle point where you reach it. So this is going to be one of the most intriguing Metal Gears. It's going to have many themes, and it's probably, you know, going to be a very strange one. But Hideo Kojima believes that that, you know, the video game industry has a lot to learn until it becomes mature. You know, he believes that it's still immature, and he's trying to make it into something mature, and he's just trying as hard as he can. He says this is his last project, you know, regarding Metal Gear, but he said that with number 4, and he came back to do Peace Walker, and Peace Walker was 9.5 out of 10 on IGN, and it was a PSP game. So, you know, this I hands on think that this is going to be a 10 out of 10. I don't see any problems, no glitches. This Fox engine looks flawless. It's very, very, very seamless. I just really cannot wait. I've been watching this trailer literally every morning and every night. You know, it's been like a little lullaby to me. So, yep. Furthermore, V has come to means basically victory has come to, as Kojima said, my mouth. So it could also, if Volgin was the main antagonist, then it could possibly mean Volgin has come to, but it does mean V has come to, so victory has come to. And this game will also be on current gen systems, Xbox 360 and PS3. I'm not sure about the next gen systems, but this technology, they have the Fox engine. It's you know, allowing them to be supported on anything, you know, any kind of hardware, software. So this will, you know, I'm glad obviously that they're making this not just exclusive, because obviously Hideo Kojima wants to expand Metal Gear, make it available for everyone, you know, and it was not even originally on PlayStation. Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, you know, the first two Metal Gears were on this NES kind of platform. They were not on the PlayStation. I can't remember what kind of platform they were on, but they were not on the PlayStation. So it has never been exclusively to PlayStation, unless you want to say Metal Gear Solid, but the series is not Metal Gear Solid, it's Metal Gear. So yes, that's all I have to say. So thanks for watching my video. Please like this video if you enjoy it. Comment on your opinions about regarding how you're gonna see this game unfold, and just anything regarding the trailer that I may have missed out. And subscribe to this channel for more news regarding Metal Gear Solid 5. And eventually, when the game comes out, I will be glad to cover it, because Metal Gear Solid is a passion of mine, and best video game franchise I ever played in my entire life. So yeah, so be sure to please do that and share this video as well if you know any Metal Gear Solid fans. And again, take care. This is Aaron from the Fox Groups, and I'm over.